Some years ago, I was thinking I wanted to write a book set during the Irish famine, and I was looking for a story that would encapsulate that period of time for me, and I wanted something that would be almost like a diving board, which would explain why people had to leave Ireland at that time and get on these ships and travel to America. What made them do it? And I tried to figure out how bad was it, why did these people take such a radical decision? And then I heard the story of Doolough, and to me it just seemed that it represented everything that had happened at that time. It was just a microcosm of what had gone on during the famine, and I chose to look into it, investigate it, and write about it. So it was the 30th of March 1849. The local people were told that if they needed to gather in Louisburg, which is the local town, to be assessed, and the attending officials would decide whether they were going to continue giving these people outdoor relief or whether they were going to strike them from the register. So the people had to turn up to be counted to be worthy of this relief, which took the form of food, effectively. So hundreds of people travelled from all over these hills and mountains to Louisburg and gathered there on a very cold day. It was snowing, it was unseasonably cold almost. When they got to Louisburg, they were told that the officials weren't there to meet them, and that the officials had repaired effectively to Delphi Lodge, which was the local landlord's lodge, and it was behind this Black Lake, and that the people were to walk there to be assessed. So they set off on the walk, which is at least 12 miles, and so they walked across all of these hills and all of these mountains on very rough lands and very rough terrain. So they got to Delphi Lodge. They were told they wouldn't be seen. They had to sleep overnight on the snow, effectively, with no food. The day after, they were seen and assessed, and then they began the walk back, still without provisions, without food. And what happened the day after is that most of the 600 people died. They died in the hills, they died in the fields. Many of them apparently were blown into the lake because there were very high winds that day, and most of those 600 people never made it back. In the winter, I mean, we're standing here now in the summer. Apparently in the winter, mini tycoon-like systems blow off the water, and so the people were swept from the land into the lake. And these people hadn't seen the lake. They'd been already walking 10 miles. They didn't know where Delphi Lodge was, how much further they had to go. So we can only imagine how they felt. And then, having spent the night outdoors in the snow at Delphi Lodge, they then had to walk back again past the Black Lake, and tried to head towards Louisburg. So this is where it happened, and it's just, even standing here today, it's a grim sight. Even without knowing what happened, even if you didn't know the history, you would feel that something had happened here. The officials recorded 20 deaths because it wasn't in their interest to have an accurate recording of what happened, but we do know that hundreds of people died here. I wrote the book, and I had to imagine these people. I had to give them names, I had to give them a story, and that was important for me, to give them a story and to write them into history and to give them a history. And the protagonist of the story leaves here and walks to the ship and travels to America. And it was important for me to do the walk, to imagine her walking. It was important for me to trace the footsteps of those people. The character leaves Ireland, the main character leaves Ireland and travels to America, and eventually makes her way west in America. And the landscape of the American West is very similar. It's eerily similar to this landscape. It feels to me here like Wyoming and Montana and parts of Idaho. And I like to think that she left here, this character that I created, and saw something that she recognized in the American West. And in the book, she begins a relationship with an Indigenous American man. And I think the history between the Indigenous people of America and the Irish people who were disenfranchised and dislocated during the famine, they had a similar history and a similar narrative. So this is the memorial to the famine. I'm going to put a stone on it, along with all the other stones. And I wanted to come here to see the spot and just to honour the people who inspire the story. I just thought that the people who did the walk, we don't know their names. There's no record of them in the history books. So it was really important for me that I had told their story, but I wanted to come and see the Black Lake. I wanted to see where this happened, and I wanted to do the walk that the people had done. So I walked the 18 kilometres from Delphi Lodge to Louisburg, which was what the people did in reverse. But it was really important for me that I honour the memory of the people who had been here. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do it and to be here.